Free roommate, no rent. I should have known better than to answer a Craigslist ad for a free roommate, no rent. No one in their right mind just gives away a place to live. But I was desperate. My last roommate bailed on rent, I was drowning in bills, and my job at the diner barely covered groceries. So when I saw the listing, I clicked on it immediately. Looking for a roommate, no rent, just help around the house. Must move in tonight. It sounded sketchy as hell, but I sent a message anyway. Me, hey, is this still available? The response came almost instantly. Yes. Can you come now? There was no name, no details, just an address across town. I hesitated, but free rent was too good to pass up. I grabbed my backpack and left. I should have never gone. 10:45 p.m. The house. The house was huge. Not a dingy, run-down apartment like I expected, but a 3-story Victorian tucked away on a quiet street. The porch light flickered, casting long shadows across the yard. Something about it made my stomach twist. I knocked on the door. Silence. I checked my phone. No new messages. Just as I turned to leave, the door creaked open. A voice floated from the darkness inside. Come in. I hesitated, then stepped inside. 10:50 p.m. The host. The air inside was stale. The hallway stretched into darkness, lined with old wooden furniture covered in dust. The house smelled wrong, like something rotting just beneath the floorboards. A man stood in the dimly lit living room, tall, thin, dressed in an old buttoned-up shirt and slacks that looked a size too big. His skin was pale, almost gray, and his smile was too wide. You're the only one who answered. I forced a chuckle. Guess I got lucky. He didn't laugh. Follow me. He turned and walked toward the staircase. Something about the way he moved, too stiff, too deliberate, sent a chill through me. I wanted to leave, but my feet followed him anyway. 11 p.m. The room. The bedroom was bare. Just a bed, a dresser, and a single window overlooking the backyard. This will be your room, he said, standing in the doorway. I nodded, forcing a smile. So, what's the catch? His smile widened. No catch, just house rules. I swallowed hard. Like what? He stepped closer. You never leave your room after midnight. My stomach nodded. Why? His eyes darkened. You just don't. I let out a nervous laugh. Okay. Anything else? He hesitated. Then, in a whisper, if you hear something at night, don't open your door. A chill ran through me. Before I could ask more, he turned and left. The door clicked shut behind him. I was alone. 12:01 a.m. The noise. I tried to sleep. I really did. But the house creaked. The wind howled through unseen cracks. And then, somewhere in the hallway, a floorboard groaned. My breath hitched. I reached for my phone, checking the time. 12:01 a.m. I remembered his warning. Never leave your room after midnight. Another sound. A soft knock. Not at my door, but somewhere down the hall. Knock. 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 Slow. Rhythmic. My pulse pounded. Someone was moving, knocking on doors. Then, another noise. A door creaking open, followed by a whisper. Help me. The voice was small, feminine, sounded close. I swallowed hard. I wanted to check. I wanted to help. But then I remembered the other rule. If you hear something at night, don't open your door. My fingers tightened around my blanket. I stayed still, held my breath, listened. The whisper grew louder. Please. He's watching. My skin prickled. Then, the whisper changed. It wasn't pleading anymore. It was laughing. Low, raspy, wrong. Something scratched against the wood outside my door. Long, deliberate scrapes, like fingernails. I pressed a hand over my mouth. The laughter stopped. Silence. Then, the doorknob twisted. Slowly, my stomach dropped. I stared, frozen, as the knob rattled. Something was trying to get in. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying for it to stop. Then, as suddenly as it started, it did. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Minutes passed, maybe an hour. Then, a whisper right against the door. See you tomorrow, 8 a.m., the missing roommate. I woke to sunlight streaming through the window. The air was still, too still. I hesitated before opening my door. The hallway was empty, but something was wrong. One of the doors, the one at the end of the hall, stood wide open. The bed inside was unmade. The dresser drawers were pulled out. Clothes were scattered, like someone left in a hurry, or was taken. I turned and nearly ran into him. The man, standing too close. His smile was still there, but his eyes, something was different. Breakfast, he asked, voice flat. I swallowed hard. What happened to the other guy? His smile widened. There was no one else. I felt a chill, but I heard. His fingers dug into my shoulder. Eat first, he said. Then we talk. I didn't argue. Couldn't. Because behind him, through the open door at the end of the hall, I saw it. A deep scratch on the inside of the wood. Faint, but clear enough to read. Don't stay. Oh? The next Craigslist ad. I left that afternoon. Didn't pack. Didn't explain. I just left. Blocked his number. Moved across town. Tried to forget. Then, a week later, I saw the new listing. Free roommate, no rent. The same house. The same rules. And below it, a message. Still available? And the reply, yes. Can you come now? Help me move. $100 cash. Craigslist is full of weirdos, but if you know what you're doing, you can make easy money. That's how I ended up answering an ad titled, Help me move. $100 cash. Need 2 hours of help tonight. It was simple. Just show up, help move some furniture, get paid, and leave. The guy's message was brief. Moving out of my house tonight. Need one person to help lift heavy stuff. Nothing shady. Just cash for 2 hours of your time. The address was on the outskirts of town. About a 30-minute drive. Seemed easy enough. I should have trusted my gut. I should have never gone. 10:15 p.m. The house. The house was wrong. It wasn't abandoned, but it looked close. The paint peeled from the siding. The windows were covered with old, yellowing curtains, and the front porch light flickered, buzzing like a dying insect. I parked in the driveway and sent a text. Here. No response. I sat there, debating whether to just drive off. $100 wasn't worth getting murdered in some backwoods horror movie scenario. But then, the porch light snapped off, and the front door creaked open. The figure stepped into the doorway, tall, thin, standing just out of the porch light's reach. I swallowed hard. Then my phone buzzed. Come in. Doors open. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but my feet moved anyway. 10:20 p.m. The cellar. Inside, the air was stale. The house smelled of dust and something else, something faintly rotten. The hallway stretched into darkness, lined with old floral wallpaper that curled at the edges. Then, a voice. Thanks for coming. The man stood in the dimly lit living room. He was off, tall but hunched. His skin was pale, almost gray, stretched tight over sharp cheekbones. His clothes were loose, like they didn't quite fit him. His eyes too wide. Yeah, I said, forcing a casual tone. What do you need moved? He smiled. Not the kind of smile people give when they're happy. The kind they give when they're waiting. This way, he said, turning. I hesitated, then followed. 10:30 p.m. The furniture. The house was almost empty. No family photos. No decorations. Just dust-covered furniture, like no one had lived here for years. The man led me down the hall, his footsteps barely making a sound. We stopped at a door. The basement, he said. A chill ran through me. I forced a laugh. Man, this feels like a horror movie. He didn't laugh. Didn't even blink. Just opened the door. Darkness yawned below. A damp, musty smell rose from the stairs. I wanted to leave, but then he said, there's a trunk down there. Heavy. I need help carrying it up. One trunk. $100. I could be in and out in 5 minutes. I pulled out my phone, turning on the flashlight, and stepped inside. The moment I hit the second step, the door slammed shut behind me. 10:35 p.m. The basement. I froze. Silence. The kind that pressed against my skull, swallowing every breath, every heartbeat. Then, a thud. From the bottom of the stairs. I slowly lifted my phone, casting the beam of light down. The trunk sat at the far end of the basement. It was massive. Old wood, reinforced with rusted metal. But the lid was moving. Something inside was pushing against it. I swallowed hard. "Hey man," I called out, forcing my voice to stay even. "You need to open this first?" No answer. I turned, aiming the light up the stairs. The door was still shut, but there was a shadow beneath it. He was standing there, watching. My pulse hammered. "Hey!" I shouted. "Open the door!" No response. The lid of the trunk rattled. I turned back just as the lock snapped, and the trunk burst open. 10:40 p.m., the thing in the trunk. Couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The thing that crawled out of the trunk wasn't human. It had been once a woman, or what was left of one. Her skin was waxy and too pale, stretched too tightly over her bones. Her mouth hung open, but there was nothing inside. No tongue, no teeth, just blackness. Her head snapped toward me, jerking at an unnatural angle. Then, she moved. Not walked, not ran, just appeared. 1 second she was at the trunk. The next, in front of me, her fingers wrapped around my wrist. Cold, so cold. I screamed, and she whispered, "He always finds more." Then, she pulled me forward, into the darkness. 10:45 p.m., the escape. I don't remember how I got away. All I remember is pain, cold, suffocating darkness, and her screaming. Then, I was on the stairs, scrambling, clawing. I slammed into the door, kicking, pounding. It burst open, and the man was gone. The house was empty. I ran. Didn't stop until I was in my car, tearing down the road, gasping for breath. I didn't look back, didn't check my phone, didn't breathe, until I was home. 1 a.m., the final message. I locked my doors, closed every curtain, sat in the middle of my living room, trying to calm my racing heart. Then my phone buzzed. A new Craigslist notification. A new post. I stared at it, my mouth dry. It was from my account, but I hadn't posted it. "Help me move. $100 cash. Need 2 hours of help tonight." And below it, a message. "Still available?" I tried to delete it, tried to turn off my phone, but my hands moved on their own. I clicked reply and typed, "Yes, can you come now?" Free to a good home. I've always been a sucker for a good Craigslist deal. You wouldn't believe the kind of things people give away for free: couches, appliances, even cars if you're lucky. So when I saw the listing for a free doll, must go tonight, I clicked on it, more out of curiosity than anything else. The ad was simple: giving away my grandmother's old doll. She always said it was special. First come, first served. Must be picked up tonight. There was one photo. The doll was old, really old, dressed in a faded lace dress, with delicate porcelain hands and an eerie, cracked face. Its eyes were glassy and black, like they could see through the screen. Something about it made my skin crawl, but I shook it off. A free antique? That could be worth something. I messaged the seller. "Me, still available?" A reply came almost instantly. "Seller, yes. Can you come now?" That was fast. I hesitated, but only for a second. "Me, sure. Send me the address." The location popped up. A house on the edge of town. I grabbed my keys and left. I should have never gone. 9:30 p.m., the house. The house was old, sitting alone at the end of a dark street. No streetlights, no cars in the driveway, just a dim glow behind the front window, barely flickering. I sat in my car for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. Something about the place felt wrong, but I had already driven all this way. I stepped out, walked up the cracked stone path, and knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. Just as I was about to turn back, the door creaked open on its own. The hallway beyond was dark, empty. Hello?" I called out. Nothing. Then, from the shadows, a whisper. "Take it and go." A chill ran down my spine. I looked down. The doll was sitting on the floor, right inside the doorway. I hadn't seen it there before. It was facing me, watching me. My heart pounded. Every instinct screamed leave now, but my pride wouldn't let me. I reached down, grabbed the doll, and backed away. As soon as I stepped off the porch, the door slammed shut. I didn't look back. 10 p.m., the passenger. The drive home was quiet. Too quiet. I kept glancing at the doll sitting in the passenger seat. Felt like it was watching me. Its black glass eyes caught the dim glow of the dashboard, reflecting the light like two hollow voids. I tried to shake the feeling. Just my imagination. I turned up the radio. Static. I flipped through the stations. More static. Then, a whisper. Faint. Garbled. Beneath the static. "Do you see me?" I slammed the radio off. My breath came fast. My hands were slick on the steering wheel. I didn't turn my head. Didn't dare look at the doll. I just kept driving. 10:30 p.m., the first mistake. Back home. I placed the doll on my coffee table and stepped back. I didn't want it in my room. Hell, I didn't want it in my apartment. I planned to sell it first thing in the morning. Maybe even throw it away. Just as I turned to leave, I heard it. A faint scraping sound, like wood shifting against wood. Slow, rhythmic, rocking. I turned around. The doll was sitting in my grandmother's old rocking chair. I hadn't put it there. I hadn't even heard it move. I froze. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I wasn't alone. I could feel it. The air felt heavy, pressing against my skin like invisible hands. Then, the chair stopped rocking, and the doll tilted its head. My body moved before my brain could. I grabbed it, stuffed it into the closet, and slammed the door shut. Out of sight, but not out of mind. Not even close. 12 a.m., the second mistake. I woke up to a sound. A faint tap, tap, tap. I sat up, my chest tight. It was coming from the closet. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, the door creaked open, and the doll was sitting on the floor, facing me. My stomach lurched. I had locked that door. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and opened Craigslist. I was getting rid of this thing. I went to post a new ad, and froze. There was already a listing, posted from my account. I hadn't made it. Free doll, must go tonight. And below it, a message from a new buyer. Still available? My phone vibrated. A new message from the same account I had messaged earlier. Yes. Can you come now? My breath hitched. I wasn't holding the phone anymore, but I could still see the screen. I could still see my fingers, typing a response. Yes. Come now. But it wasn't me. I wasn't moving. I wasn't breathing. I wasn't. Darkness. Oh? The next buyer. I woke up on the floor. The doll was gone. I checked my phone. Another new message. On my way. I stared at the screen, my blood running cold. And then, the front door creaked open. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. Someone was here. Someone had come for the doll. Someone had come for me. The last buyer. I've always loved browsing Craigslist for deals. Most of the time, it's just people looking to offload junk, but every now and then you strike gold. That's how I found the chair. Or rather, that's how the chair found me. 7:30 p.m., the listing. It was a slow night at work when I stumbled upon it. Antique wooden chair, $20. Must go tonight. The photo was grainy, but I could make out the details. It was an old-fashioned rocking chair, hand-carved, dark wood with clawed feet. The kind of thing that belonged in an old Victorian house. The description was short. Selling my grandmother's chair. She always said it was special. Message for pickup details. Cash only. A chair like that was easily worth a couple hundred, but I figured maybe the seller just wanted it gone. I sent a message. Me, still available? A response came instantly. Seller, yes. Can you come now? Something about the speed of the reply made me pause, but I brushed it off. Craigslist people could be weird. Me, sure. Send me the address. The location popped up. A house on the outskirts of town. About a 25-minute drive. I didn't think twice. I should have. 8:15 p.m. The house. The neighborhood was quiet. No streetlights. Just the glow of distant porch lamps and the occasional flicker of a TV behind closed curtains. The seller's house stood at the very end of the street, half hidden by towering oak trees. It was old, not abandoned but wrong. The windows were dark. No car in the driveway. No sign of movement. I double-checked the address. This was the place. I sent a quick message. Here. No response. I sat there, debating whether to leave. Maybe it was a scam. Maybe I was about to get jumped for $20. Then, a single porch light flickered on, and the front door creaked open. A figure stood in the doorway, barely visible in the dim light. I swallowed hard, gripping the steering wheel. Something in my gut told me to drive away. But instead, I got out. 8:20 p.m. The cellar. The air was thick with the smell of damp wood and earth as I approached the house. The figure in the doorway stepped forward. An older man, thin, with sunken eyes and a face that looked tired. "You're here for the chair," he said. His voice was flat, hollow. I nodded. "Yeah, you still have it?" He stepped aside, gesturing for me to come in. Every instinct screamed, "Don't." But I stepped inside anyway. The house was silent. No TV. No ticking clocks, just the faint hum of an old refrigerator in another room. Then I saw it. The chair, sitting in the middle of the living room. It looked even older up close. The wood was polished, but something about it felt wrong, like it had been sitting there waiting for a long time. "She used to sit there every night," the man murmured, rocking, talking to people who weren't there. I forced a chuckle. "Your grandma?" He didn't answer. Instead, he just said, "You should go." I frowned. "What?" "Take it. Leave. Now." Something in his voice sent a shiver down my spine. But for some reason, I did what he said. I handed him the 20, lifted the chair. It was freezing to the touch, and carried it to my car. He watched me the whole time. As soon as I shut my trunk, the porch light snapped off. And when I looked back, he was gone. 9 p.m. The passenger. The drive home was quiet. Too quiet. Even with the windows up, I swore I could hear something. A faint creaking noise, like wood shifting, like rocking. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The chair sat in my back seat, still and unmoving. I turned up the radio to drown out the noise. But just as I reached for the volume, the creaking stopped. I glanced in the mirror again, and my stomach dropped. The chair was facing the other direction. I slammed the brakes, heart pounding. No, that wasn't possible. It must have shifted when I turned, right? I took a deep breath and kept driving. But the further I went, the heavier the air felt, like something was watching me. 9:30 p.m. The reflection. By the time I got home, I was shaking. I pulled the chair out of the car and carried it inside, dumping it in the corner of the living room. It felt heavier than before. The apartment was dead silent. No creaking, no movement. Maybe I had just freaked myself out. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, sat on the couch, and turned on the TV. That's when I saw it. The mirror. It hung across the room, reflecting the chair behind me. And in that reflection, someone was sitting in it. I spun around. Nothing. I turned back to the mirror. She was still there. A woman, frail, with hollowed-out eyes and skin like old parchment. She was rocking, mouth moving, whispering something I couldn't hear. Then, she turned to look at me. My vision blurred. My chest tightened. The room spun. And then, darkness. Oh? The new cellar. I woke up on the floor. The chair was gone. I scrambled to my feet, my head pounding. I checked the mirror. The woman was gone. I checked my phone. There was a new notification. A Craigslist post. My account. I didn't remember making it, but there it was. Antique wooden chair, $20. Must go tonight. And below it, a message from a new buyer. Still available? I stared at the screen, my blood running cold. Then, a reply appeared. Yes. Can you come now? I didn't type that, but somehow I hit send.